I'm a 23-year-old male from Ireland, and from the outside looking in, my life probably looks great. However, my problem is that I suffer from crippling anxiety and panic attacks. I've suffered from panic attacks ever since I was a teenager, but didn't know what they really were until I was about 18. I had no social life, very little friends, and spent all my free time in my room. Whenever the panic attacks came, they left me either physically sick or crying in a ball on my bathroom floor for hours at a time. When I met my fiancé, most of these issues went away. She helped me through the problems and gave me self-confidence. However, over the last year or so, these issues have come back and, in my mind, are more frequent and stronger than ever. I feel tremendous guilt that she has to deal with my anxiety attacks, and even more guilt that she can no longer help me, since she was able to in the past. All I've heard is that talking about problems makes them better, but I feel like mine are just getting progressively worse. What do I do? How do I stop feeling this guilt towards my fiancé when she has been nothing but loving and supporting even when I bring these worries up? I'm scared I'm going to push her away. If this continues, I need your help.
I have a good little tidbit for that. I would ask, are you in therapy? If not, go to it. Mm-hmm. See what it's like. And know that therapy is not just like a boom transaction, that it sometimes can take like, you know, you might have to be on a journey of finding like the therapist that fits you. It may take 3 tries. Yeah. But also, I was the person in the relationship, my therapist put it as this, is like, when you're a person that has like major depression, I have major depression disorder, PTSD, and anxiety, and ADHD, so I'm a pill girl. And when my therapist was putting it to me, she was like, sometimes in a relationship you're the patient, and you're always the one that needs the most attention, the support, the you're doing great, you know, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard. I would say that it takes a lot of work to, that guilt that you feel from putting your partner under so much strife or stress, yeah, so
a lot
much
of pressure.
That takes a lot. That adds more, in fact, more anxiety on you. So if you could let that somehow breathe and let go of that and talk through that through therapy, but also realize that the next phase of that, of you becoming better, is your partner realizing that you are no longer the patient in that relationship. Mm-hmm. So because I got stuck in a spot where it was like, I'm clearly the patient, I'm the one that has like all the issues, yay, and my partner was the one supporting me through all of that. But whenever you are getting better, sometimes it's hard for your partner to trust that you're actually taking those steps to like feel better.
Right.
And you know, I would just say like it's conversation and communication. Obviously those are like things that are involved, but know that once you start to get better, there's also another journey of, which almost feels like proving yourself.
The action steps? Like,
proving that you're actually, you're doing better.
Yeah. Rather
than, and their guilt can like ricochet over to that still. And it's a really hard, my therapist put it as like a really hard lesson to learn whenever like someone has taken care of someone and then they don't need to take care of them anymore. And they can let them be. Yeah. And that's like a kind of a learning curve. Yeah.
Have you ever done cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah, I used to take cognitive behavioral
I feel
therapy.
like this would be great for...
What is that?
Maybe I haven't done it. You could probably speak on it better.
Or just like explaining kind of like the gist of it.
So I'll probably do a butcherish job, but say you feel anxious and you're walking into a room, and as soon as you walk into the room, you feel like everyone hates you, or you feel like everyone's talking about you. In cognitive behavioral therapy, they ask you a ton of questions about, like, say, like, what is it like to walk into a room? Is it stressful? Is it, you know, they give you the options, like, or it's easy. In cognitive behavioral, it's like more so changing the thoughts that you have about your surroundings and what sort of it's like whenever you have that problem, it's like you're trying to be psychic. You know, you're trying to pretend like you know exactly what everybody else is thinking, what exactly everybody else is doing. But in cognitive behavioral therapy, it's like changing that. It's like, why do you think that? What is actually happening? And then mindfulness.
Yes, the mindfulness, because it sounds like, did they say no name? Okay.
No name, yeah.
It
Male
sounds
from
like-
Ireland.
Male from Ireland. It sounded like, you know, he had these issues and was with his fiance, and then they came back. So clearly they're not gone, and that's the tricky thing with anxiety is like, you know, mine was gone.
There's no cure.
Gone for like a year, and then all of a sudden, boom, bitch, I'm back, and it's like, okay, you're still here, and so it's like, clearly they need to be addressed, and I think using like. I feel like cognitive behavioral therapy is kind of like a hands-on technique of like, when you feel like this and you're in these moments of all of this, like you can find ways in that moment to actually work it out. You're either asking yourself questions, you're either like know of certain, coping techniques, so you're in the moment, you're like, oh no, blah, 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 and then after a while it'll start to just smooth.
Well, that's something that we learned when Katie Morton has been on the show, is that I think there's a misconception with some people that there's a cure for a lot of mental illnesses, such as anxiety, but it's not so much a cure as this kind of lives inside of you and inside your brain, and it's the kind of your brain chemistry. But there are ways to cope with it, and you could learn those over time and learn ways to either recognize when it's coming on, or if you're about to feel that way, and how you deal with it at that time, and like with proper therapy or training techniques, like it could get better.
And especially since it says it's been happening since they were young, it makes me think that like it could just be also another imbalance. Like it's something that's just like a part of you that needs to be, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? And
Well, it's all about.
You only know about going to a doctor.
Yeah, the thing that kind of I wouldn't say concerns me or is a red flag, but I think kind of people sometimes get stuck in this mentality of like, oh, I'm so sad, and I'm going to meet the person who's going to make me happy and make me forget, and then you kind of realize like, oh wait, no, this is something that's like going on with me, because you know he says that like he met his fiance and she helped him with these problems and these issues, and now
They went
they're
away
back
for a while,
So I think the number one thing here is to realize that like, yes, you can be happy with someone, but that doesn't mean that like you are 100% okay. And you also have to like make sure you're putting in the work to make sure that you're the best you can be for this person.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, relationships, like you were saying, like are a lot of give and take. But when you're just taking all the time, it can get to be a lot for the other person. It can get to be a lot for you as well, because you're just like, oh, like this must be exhausting for you to like be with someone who's just constantly like needing and taking.
Yeah.
So that's like the biggest thing I like when you were reading it that kind of stood out to me, that like he was like, oh, I met her and everything changed. I was 100% better and now I'm back. So like therapy 100%, you know, fine. And there's especially now there's so many resources out there. You can find a therapist in person, but there's also
Like the texting apps?
there's texting apps,
That's
there's
really
online life coaches, there's like all sorts of different things and outlets you can find that could help you.
Yeah.
And I would say 100% like look into that for sure, because I think when you're constantly relying on someone to be the source of your happiness, it can put you in a really dark spot if anything were to ever happen, which is not good. Yeah. But it's also like it puts a lot of pressure on that person to constantly fill this like need, and you know, they need to be taken care of too.
It almost seems like he's so concerned about going in that direction, because I think a lot of questions we get for the show is like, I have a partner or a friend who, you know, is dealing with these mental health issues, and I feel like they constantly rely on me to make them feel better, or to like, I feel this like weird pressure from it. And I think that oftentimes when there's people suffering from mental illness, that they don't tend to recognize that other person and like the amount of stress and pressure that they're under, even though they're not the ones dealing with these mental issues. It
also
puts a lot of stress on that person as well.
That person not becoming an enabler.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, no matter how much, it's like you got yourself into this situation, the other person sort of needs to know their limits. Like, so, because sometimes you can get caught up with loving someone so much that you sort of ignore a lot of idiosyncrasies or a lot of like bad red flags.
Yeah.
And instead of just like pointing them out because you think that they'll make that other person feel bad, know that and this sounds weird, but our minds are a lot more capable than we think they are, and so especially under stress and failure and success and love. And so I think that, I don't know, if you're the partner of someone who is having a lot of trouble, you also need to set limits. You need to tell that person. Like, I think that this person needs to talk to their partner, and I think their partner needs to realize and say, hey, these are my limits, and if I go beyond these, then I'm not me, and I need you to kind of figure it out a little bit. Because I think that's the struggle most of, like, someone who struggles with depression or anxiety, is that yes, they have been tested their whole life, and they have been in terrible circumstances, but testing never ends. And, like, I just think it's important to take over those battles in your brain, for someone to be like, hey, if you keep acting this way, I have to rethink what I'm doing with us.
Right.
Yeah.
So it
And
has
I
to
think
be
that's really important.
give
And
and take.
even if it fails, it's like the person who is struggling can be like, fuck. Like, they can think about that, and that could be like a real, not that I would ever want that to happen, but it's like, sometimes that happens where you just have to shit hit the fan, and then you're like, fuck, okay, I'm gonna get my shit together.
I see things clearly now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rain is gone.
Yeah.
something. Can't sing on me.
Yeah.
Something I think that might also help, and again, every couple is different, but understanding, like, try to maybe communicate with your fiance, like, how she can help,
Right.
and like what in your mind is like the best case scenario for her to handle your panic attacks or your episodes or anything like this in a way where she feels like she could help you. Because I think that's one of the things that I've struggled with in the past, is having a partner where they've been going through something and I felt so helpless of just like, I just want to help you and make you feel better. But I recognize that I can't necessarily do that, but like, what are some things that I could do or even not do to help you in this situation and to help you cope? Like, for example, if you have panic attacks and you do want someone to just like talk to you about your day, or like put on a show that you like, or order you dinner, or just like not be around when you're going through that. Like, have that communication of like what will help you in these situations, because I think ultimately the guilt that you feel is just making this person feel bad and helpless when you're going through this. And I totally understand that guilt. I've had that in the past. But just having them understand, like, this is on me, this is what I'm going through, this is not your fault or responsibility.
Yeah.
But just like, here are some ways you could help me.
Yeah.
Right.
And that they
Yeah.
can't take your pain away. Only you can, through help and through finding what works for you. Like, when I am in the middle of a panic attack or I'm having something that feels like that, Devin will just like massage my hand. There's like a pressure point like right here, and he'll just start like massaging it, and I'll just be like, because I'm like focusing on this, and I'm like, oh, it feels nice, and then it starts to calm me down. He's not doing anything. He's not like emotionally giving so much of himself. He's just doing this, and he's like, it's okay, just like, all right, we're good. And so something he can aid me in, and he's seeing that that is actually helping me.
Yeah, or even if it's just a matter of like, here, like, you relax on the couch, like, we'll put on a TV, like, I'll go make dinner and like take this pressure off of you. And it's not necessarily like, I don't need a therapist in that situation. I don't necessarily need to talk to someone and like vent all my problems out. I just need to like
Be.
be and just like let it pass and let it go through.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think too, she's your fiance. She loves you.
Yeah.
She wants to be with
she
you.
cares about you and she wants to be with you. And you know, she clearly has known about your issues in the past and has been willing to work through it with you. And I think like a lot of people will go through a lot and deal with a lot for love.
Yeah.
Because she loves you
Yeah.
and who you are. And gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
100%.
Called Hundo P.
Hundo
Yeah.
P.
Baby. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Well, good luck.
Good luck,
Yes, Milk
Anonymous.
But no, you're not alone.
You are not.
No, you're never alone.
No.